NPR has found doctors and scientists who make the claim that if you're trying to abstain from fapping, that could mean that you're linked to extremists and hate groups. Everything is linked to extremists and hate groups all of a sudden. Your tax dollars goes to pay for public television and public radio. The public radio that you pay for is called National Public Radio, NPR. You pay for it, and you don't have a choice in the matter. It just comes right out of your taxes. But it's okay. It's not like we have a lot of federal debt or anything. We've got a lot of money lying around. So let's pay for National Public Radio, right? Well, let's take a quick gander and see what they're bothered about right now. What kind of cause they're championing over there at NPR. Huh. Well, I wouldn't have guessed this one. All right, listen, you're going to have to get upset about whatever you want to get upset about. I don't put this on a big priority list for me, but NPR, they're made of different stuff. You know, we're going to talk about this issue, and then we're going to use the common term right now with regard to this trend. It's called FAP, or NoFap for that matter. And if you don't know what that means, then this will all go over your head. No harm, no foul. And if you do know what it means, well, let's talk about it. The NoFap craze is pointed out in this article on NPR, specifically with a YouTuber who talked about how he is actually overcome now for a year his addiction to FAP and specifically to pornography. Take a look.
365 days ago, I made the choice to quit fapping forever. After 7 years of being a slave, I finally gave this up because it was so important for me to get to my goal of becoming a YouTuber that I had to give up this crucial thing that was draining me from energy. It was draining my testosterone. It was draining my motivation. It was draining every piece of motivation I had to actually go and get what I needed to get to live a happy and successful life. Just to prove my point, I had to take off my clothes so that I can show you guys that these cold showers, this NoFap has made me fearless. Now, nothing scares me. Nothing hurts me anymore. I can go outside in freezing weather as it's snowing and keep on making videos.
NPR is really bothered by this for many reasons, and we'll get to their reasons in a minute because it's remarkable. But this guy goes on to talk about not just how, as you saw, nothing bothers me. I actually like feeling uncomfortable. It's made me a stronger man. And if you look at certain studies, especially with regard to cold showers, as he's saying, cold ice plunges, and various other things that you force yourself into a certain level of discomfort, it actually does help your body. It helps you physically. It helps your circulation. It helps your brain power. It helps you focus. NPR doesn't like any of that. And then there's this, because let's face it, there's a big component to the NoFap trend, the NoFap challenge that involves pornography. And this guy addresses it.
Porn, because that's just what people do, right? That's what society tells us. I mean, yeah, that's fine, dude. You're 17, you're 15. That's normal, but it's really not. It's not okay to watch two other people having sex while you're sitting in your bathroom fapping. That's the most beta thing you can do. That's the weakest thing any man can do. Steve Jobs, Mike Tyson, Jordan Peterson, Muhammad Ali, so many famous people that we've been over today actually stepped away from sex so they can focus on their craft. All of these great, powerful men, whether it be mentally or physically, do not mess with that. These people have to go out and speak to real women and actually get it how we were made to get it since the beginning of time.
Again, just to be clear without getting too graphic here, this isn't a new concept. Abstinence in every form is something that has been championed, celebrated, and seen to be effective, especially for men, for centuries, millennia, in fact. It's actually only a very, very recent development in human history that the idea of abstaining from certain behaviors, especially sexual behaviors, is a bad thing. That this in some way damages you to abstain. No, quite the opposite. It's been known for millennia that abstinence actually helps men focus, helps men's health, helps men sleep, and ultimately helps men in their love life. NPR's having nothing to do with it. We're going to get back to this guy. By the way, I want to say his name. He deserves it. They don't even know. He goes by the handle I Am Lucid. And he's building his YouTube following. And if you're interested in that kind of material, you should check it out because it's actually some pretty good stuff. All right. So moving now on to how NPR covers this. More than 2 decades of growing internet use has surfaced fears about the social and psychological impacts of nearly unfettered access to pornography. But many researchers and sex therapists worry that the online communities that have formed in response to these fears often endorse inaccurate medical information, exacerbate mental health problems, and in some cases overlap with extremist and hate groups. Extremists and hate groups. NPR has found doctors and scientists who make the claim that if you're trying to abstain from fapping, that could mean that you're linked to extremists and hate groups. Everything is linked to extremists and hate groups all of a sudden. Real fast, let's take a look at I Am Lucid again. Does he look like he's linked to a extremist or a hate group? Is this the new face of white supremacy in America? Because he likes to stand outside in the winter without his shirt on and maybe abstain from activities that are probably not the healthiest thing for you to be doing? According to NPR, yes, that's the case. You know, the last thing I want to do is make you dabble into extremist groups and hate groups, but let's take a little bit more of what this guy, I Am Lucid, who NPR thinks might be linked to hate groups, is actually telling his viewers, actually expressing to them about what he's attempting to do here.
Right now, if I get the urge, I sit down, I meditate, I go for a run, I do some push-ups, I get my life in better shape so I can actually beat the urge. I look at the urge face to face and I say that I am stronger than you and I will not let you control me.
Wow, self-control over a habit that you think is controlling your life? Oh, we don't want any of that, do we? I don't see what the controversy here is. In fact, isn't this the kind of behavior that we as a society should be encouraging in men? That if you've got a destructive or damaging or just at least unconstructive habit in your life, no matter what it is, maybe you can actually focus on overcoming that and distract yourself on more constructive things in your life, self-improvement. The only thing I would add to what he just said is meditation. Let's be real here. How about prayer? How about prayer and focusing on your creator, the person who put you here and frankly expects more from you? How about that? Even more powerful than meditation, isn't it? So let's summarize here. NPR is really, really concerned about men breaking free from destructive behavior, addictive behavior, and breaking free from pornography in particular. And they're worried that if you do that and actually take control of yourself and take control of your life and ownership of your body, that that's going to lead you to a hate group and extremism. That's NPR's position. Let's just play this out for a minute because I think it's really, really important to know where your tax dollars are going and what NPR's official position is here. Because the entire movement right now, the NoFap movement, is linked directly to the ubiquitous availability of online pornography. Online pornography right now, which is at the fingertips of any man of any age, including very young children, and is directly linked to sex trafficking, exploitation, organized crime, and even child trafficking. The net result of the NoFap movement is a lower demand for pornography, and NPR is standing in the way of that. NPR, by their own admission, is actually more concerned with men being responsible men and taking ownership of their lives and their bodies and their addictions than they are about the incredibly damaging industry that is pornography. And you are paying for that with your tax dollars. Listen, this may be a controversial issue, and I know that a lot of people have passionate feelings about it one way or the other, but when you really break it down here, it seems to me on one side of the equation, pornography and pornographers end up being less in demand and ultimately going bankrupt. And men actually become more responsible citizens, more focused on their lives, more focused on their God, and live healthier, more engaged lives with their wives, with their girlfriends, with their children, and with their parents. And on the other side of the equation, you're NPR. Now, in this NPR article, they go and they talk about a lot of different examples and men who have gone through this process, tried, failed. It's actually a pretty interesting article and worth the read, except they keep coming back to the main conclusion, which is this connection, this pretend connection between being in the NoFap movement and being connected to right-wing hate groups and extremist groups. What's the connection here? Well, here's one of the shaky links they try to make. In 2016, NoFap company founder Alexander Rhodes made a guest appearance on a talk show hosted by Gavin McInnes, who would go on to found the far-right Proud Boys months later. Wow. So the guy who started this movement went on a talk show hosted by Gavin McInnes, who then went on to found the Proud Boys. And, well, we all know the Proud Boys are Nazis. And so, therefore, I guess the point they're making is if you're a man and you want to break free from the addiction of pornography and an addiction to fapping, and you actually try to create an environment for yourself where you succeed and you move on and you connect with the NoFap organizations that are out there, you're just a step away from being a Nazi because the founder went on Gavin McInnes' show. That's the argument they're making. And there's not a whole lot else there. It's sad, it's pathetic, it's actually outrageous, and it's amusing if it weren't so destructive and dangerous. Where here we've got men who are actually trying to take ownership of their lives and actually improve themselves and actually break free from a destructive addiction. And NPR is more concerned about the Proud Boys and you turning into a Nazi. But the good news is that's your tax dollars at work.